Well, greetings to you once again. I'm attaching today some clips of Starmer before the election and things that he said and some of his interviews after. Just little clips, not a great deal, because I'm sure you've seen them all before. Now, what is interesting here is that we all know politicians lie before an election. We know that. That's how it works. All in North America or Britain or Western Europe, doesn't make any difference. They lie. They tell you all sorts of things they're going to do when they get in office, and when they get in office, they don't do them. Now, we know that. This isn't news. And the reason they don't do them, because a party political manifesto is not enforceable at law. It's not a contract with the people, as it should be, in my view. It's not a contract that if they break, they can be held to account. They can say anything they like and change it when they get elected, and that's one of the great failures of our fake democratic system that we have in the Western world.
Today, the energy price cap rise has been announced, and that's going to cause real pain for so many households. So many people have said to me, look here, I may not be the hardest up, but I'm going to really struggle to pay these energy bills. Small businesses that have said, look, the last 2 years have been really tough with COVID, and now we're expected to pay these massive increases. At the same time, oil and gas companies are making enormous profits. And I think everyone can see that's just not right. And that's why the Labour Party has a fully costed plan to freeze energy bills this winter. In the end, politics is about choices. And this government is choosing to protect the profits of oil and gas companies, unexpected profits of oil and gas companies, rather than sticking up for and helping hard-working families and struggling businesses.
The point is that we're dealing with somebody here in our Prime Minister who has no concept of right or wrong. It's a sociopathic kind of mindset that, oh, you said this and now you've completely changed it and you've changed your mind and you've gone completely against what you said. Is that he has his body language, his attitude, his words show no remorse. He has no remorse. Now, most of us, if we were caught with our hand in the till or we were caught lying, we'd have some remorse. We'd have some kind of body language. We would have some kind of set in our visage, as it were, that we had done wrong. Now, he doesn't do this. So it means he has no idea about the consequences of what he says and what he does. And this is extremely dangerous.
I was the Director of Public Prosecutions that prosecuted MPs for breach of the expenses rule. So I know how to take tough decisions. And if I get into power, I want to clean this up. I don't think it's acceptable.
Well, first of all, MPs have accepted donations and gifts for years. All MPs do it.
It needs to be cleaned up because millions of people out there do not want one rule for those in government and another rule for everybody else. That is not acceptable. Okay.
And still perpetuating the myth that, oh, when we got into power, we didn't realise that the cupboard was bare. We didn't realise when we got into power there wasn't any money and the Tories had spent the lot and left us in debt. How disingenuous is this? It's totally and utterly ludicrous to pretend that you come into number 10 Downing Street without knowing exactly what the figures are because they're in the open domain. They are in the open, they're easy to find. Most of them. Some you have to dig a bit deeper and you have to know what you're looking for, but they're all there. To then complain that you suddenly found that there's no money which you didn't know about and it's all a disaster and what are you going to do and it's the other guy's fault, and then say there's £20 billion black hole and immediately give 9 billion of it in beyond inflation increases to the public sector, with all that entails for indexing pensions. It's more than just the 9 billion, you know. It's significantly more than that because it's all pensionable on an index-linked basis, the cost of which, of course, is not in the it is in the public domain, but it's not in where you want to find it at question time or budget time and so on and so forth. It's just not there. It's hidden. All these liabilities. It's the same in North America. This is how they fiddle the accounts. So Where the danger is particularly is that his action, the feeling that his action and those actually of the senior members of his cabinet have no idea of the consequences. It's a psychopathic thing, a sociopathic thing. So even when he went to America and said, oh, we need to use long-range missiles and we need the freedom to use long-range missiles to strike into the heart of the Russian Federation if necessary, even the nutcase neocons, even the loony bins said, my God, this British Prime Minister is bonkers. Does he realise what that's going to cause? That could cause World War III. Now, this is a problem when you're dealing people with psychological disorders. And that's what we're dealing with, psychological disorders, that your action will have no consequence. And they do, and they will, and they always have. Maybe not immediately, but sooner or later. Stare into the Prime Minister's face and some of his senior colleagues. They simply don't get it. There's no sense of shame. There's no conscience. They don't care. It's appalling, and it's a relatively new phenomenon. And when I say new, it's not just this government. It's been going on now for, I would argue, since the days of Blair. They're not well. These people are mentally unwell. And they're representing us, and they had their fingers on the nuclear button. It's quite concerning, isn't it? Look into their faces. It's a very, very big worry. As most of you know, my work is very heavily independently research-based, and I get my information from all over the world. It would help if you press the subscribe button and the little bell next to it, because the more subscribers I have, the more likely it is that international independent research institutes will share their material with me. It's most helpful, and then of course I automatically share it with you. So, surprise, won't cost you anything. Thank you very much.